Hey everybody, so I read some bad news online, at least it's bad for me, and that is that, well, first of all let me say that a few weeks ago during one of the weekly chats I posed this question about who would you like to see in a new Ghostbusters movie if it is in fact going to be an all-female cast, and at that time I was very much for the idea because from what I understood about the project, it was going to be sort of like the Ghostbusters, the next generation. You know, it's going to be years down the line, there's a new team, and that doesn't disrupt the continuity of the earlier movies. Well, this past week I read that the new version, to be directed by Paul Feig of Bridesmaids and The Heat, was in fact going to be a complete reboot, that they were going to be wiping out the Ghostbusters movies that came before, and it was going to be a brand new fresh start in contemporary times with a new team. And the reason why I don't like that idea is because, again, with, you know, any reboot or remake or what have you, it's just like they're telling the same story over again. Of course, there are going to be differences in the details, but essentially the story will involve the new revelation that ghosts exist and that they're running around causing havoc, and so this team of scientists develop the technology to trap them and keep everyone safe from them, that kind of thing. And then there's probably going to be some big confrontation in the end. In the meantime, they have to deal with bureaucrats and government agencies, you know, trying to limit their abilities or what have you, and I don't know. I mean, I wanted to see something, a story set in a time in which people had been, you know, watching ghost busting happen for like 30 years. It's been 30 years since the original movie came out. The new one, you know, they're writing it right now, so I don't know if it'll be out next year, maybe the year after, 2016. But again, it's just like, oh, we're starting over from the beginning again. Paul Feig apparently is a big fan of the origin story and wants to do the origin story, and I just thought it was a step backwards. But I still like the all-female casting. I was actually listening to a podcast the other day called Schmozno, and the people were talking about this announcement that had been made, and how they didn't, some of them didn't like the fact that it was an all-female team, and it didn't make sense, they'd be nothing but women, and that it was sort of gimmicky. And I just don't understand that philosophy at all. I mean, if you look at the original Ghostbusters, and this is especially appropriate considering this is going to be a reboot. I don't like the fact that it's a reboot, but it's an appropriate decision because in the original Ghostbusters, the first three guys, they were all friends with each other, okay? They were all scientists, but they were all friends. They'd known each other for years, and they decided to get together and start this enterprise themselves, okay? And, I mean, the fact that they were all men in the original movie wasn't like completely nonsensical. I mean, you look around all over the place. You have groups of friends. Oftentimes they're all one gender. Groups of guy friends, groups of girlfriends, what have you. You know, bunch of women. They know each other. They live in the same community. They have something in common. They're going to be friends. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that they all be the same gender. And I don't know why anyone would object to that, considering the genesis of the first story, you know. So yeah, the fact that people would complain about that and think that it's unrealistic, I'm like, why? You know, I mean, yeah, they're all scientists, but they're friends too. I mean, and the more I thought about this, the more I sort of speculated on what my ideal version of Ghostbusters would be, this new version of Ghostbusters. And of course, it's not going to get made, but I'd like to tell it to you if you want to hear about it. It's just something that I was thinking about the other day, and I thought, gee, that would make a really fun movie. So I just wanted to tell you guys about it. So, like I said, I mean, it's totally, the whole premise of it being an all-female team, a group of women that are you know, a Ghostbusters team, is totally justifiable for a number of different reasons. The most important, that they're friends, okay? So, if you've got a group of women who were basically all attending some scientific university together, they'd all got their PhDs around the same time, you know, naturally they're, you know, have something in common, you know, especially since they might be the only members of their family that are scientists, and they would get excited about scientific research and development that no one else would care about or even understand. And so sharing that would probably be a bonding experience for them and bring them closer together. So you've got, say, three friends. And ideally, we were talking about casting, of course, and so I'm thinking, okay, for the sort of super nerd of the nerds, Judy Greer, because I really like her. She's a sweet woman, and she'd be good, you know, comedically. She's done a lot of different movies. She had supporting roles in movies like Adaptation, but she's probably, you know, most visible in the Sprint commercials. She's done a lot of Sprint commercials lately. But I really like her and think that she would make a good Egon of the group, I guess. And somebody like Janine Garofalo, perhaps, or, you know, someone who's maybe a little bit more, have that sort of, you know, that sense of humor that's sort of like very, very sort of, what's the word I'm thinking of? This word totally escapes me. It's like deadpan, right, exactly, deadpan humor. She sort of specializes in that. And there's a bunch of different actresses that could play that part, but Jean Garofalo just off the top of my head. And then maybe someone a little bit on the younger side. I mean, I think that Judy Greer and Jean Garofalo are both like, you know, around 50 or so. So, you know, if you had someone like, say, Rosario Dawson, who's around 35, as someone who's, you know, a little bit younger, or just someone who's, I don't know, brings sort of a new energy to the group, you know, but it would be like they'd known each other for a long time. And say Rosario Dawson's character has been working on some new technology, something that would make ghostbusting easier. Now, the whole sort of idea of this 30 years later movie would be like, you know, ghosts have been popping up around all over the place with some regularity. So in addition to the Ghostbusters in New York, you've now got teams of people all over the country, basically, maybe even all over the world that are ghostbusting. And there may be different franchises like the Spirit Smashers or what have you, you know, different, you know, I mean, because naturally Ghostbusters, you know, all by themselves would have sort of monopoly on the ghost-busting business in New York City, but they have like maybe 4 or 5 other companies that are also sending guys out there to trap spirits. Would make a lot of sense, especially if, you know, for legal reasons they were forced to, you know, sort of share the technology that they had patented in order to do that, and they didn't, you know, the whole monopoly and antitrust thing happening anyway. So there's a bunch of different teams, basically, of people that are doing this kind of thing. But Ghostbusters, of course, are the kings of the mountain. They're the ones that have been at it the longest time, and they're the most admired and respected. And I gather that Dan Aykroyd would not be part of the new movie, but of course, you know, there's no reason to think why he wouldn't be, you know, in charge of the Ghostbusters, still at least own the company at this point in the story. So when the Rosario Dawson character, in my hypothetical situation, comes up with something new, something that would make ghostbusting, you know, easier, like, say, something like a ghost magnet, you know, it's like, oh, it's like a trap, but you don't even have to be in the same room as the ghost, okay? You just set it up even outside the building, anywhere near it, within this particular range, you switch it on, and the ghosts just get drawn to the thing and sucked right in, you know? This would be great. And so when she shares with her friends, they're all like, hey, that's awesome, you know, you gotta, you know, patent that, you know, you make a bunch of money selling the technology to the guys that are out there busting ghosts. And Judy Greer or whoever is like, well, you know what, that sounds like a great idea, and it would be great and all that, but you know something, I've been watching these guys on TV ever since I was a little girl, catching ghosts, and I've always wanted to be one. I would like nothing more than to feel that excitement, and wouldn't it be great if you guys formed a ghost-busting team with me? And they're like, well, gee, I don't know. I mean, it'd be so much easier to just, you know, just let the cash roll in from this new device that Rosario Dawson has made. And she's just like, well, you know, I mean, please, 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 I would really, really like to do it. I just think that it would be amazing, you know, just get out there and do this incredible thing that other people are doing. You know, I've been, you know, sitting around in labs all day long. I'd like to be able to get out and actually see some of that action myself. So after some convincing, they just say, okay, fine, we'll do it. And obviously I'm just, you know, this is all hypothetical as far as the actresses go. The characters, it's just sort of a rough sketch right here. But in the end, of course, they have trouble getting their stuff together, you know. They screw up a couple of times, what have you, you know. They're laughed at by some of the other companies who think that they don't know what they're doing. But the other guys, basically, that have been ghostbusting for a while now, the other teams, they're not necessarily all scientists. They're more like hired hands, basically. Guys who are taught how the technology works and are taught how to use the actual tools, but don't necessarily have the scientific know-how. So at the climax of the movie, when there's this big supernatural catastrophe of some kind, and most of the guys that are actively doing the ghostbusting don't know how to handle it, our main characters who actually are scientists, they have the know-how to actually figure out what's going on here and how to stop and how to solve the problem. And so they end up saving the day in the end. And so everyone's like, oh my goodness, they're great. And then at the end, Dan Aykroyd, Ray Stantz, the character Ray Stantz, who owns the Ghostbusters, meets up with them and says, I was really impressed by what you guys did. I think you're amazing. I would really like to hire you guys to become Ghostbusters. I want you, working for me. And the women who are the main characters go, oh, that's amazing, to be an actual Ghostbuster would be great, but you know what? I think we're good. We're doing pretty well on our own right now. Thanks very much, Dr. Stantz. We're fine as we are. Anyway, that would be the end of the movie. That would be sort of my idea. Anyway, I was just thinking about that while listening to the podcast the other night. I had to stop it multiple times and I'm going, no, it'd be great if this happened and this. And, obviously you want people that are good at comedy, to play those parts, and I know a lot of people have been complaining about the fact that Melissa McCarthy will probably be cast in this movie, she can play obnoxious characters, but she can play other types of characters as well. I don't understand the hate on that. She can, if you look at her St. Vincent, this new movie, which she is coincidentally starring in with Bill Murray. She's probably not the obnoxious character she plays in movies like Identity Thief and what have you. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. It was an idea that I had. I thought it would be fun. It's not going to get made. They're going to do their own thing, but I just thought I'd tell you guys about it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I wanted to do a video eventually on Gone Girl, but I want to see it a second time first. And I'm not going to do that right away just because I'm saving my money. So, I do need to see Birdman, though. Birdman's, I think, coming out next weekend, so I got to check that out. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Appreciate it. Appreciate the comments you left me in the last few videos I've made. Appreciate it very much. Talk to you later. Bye.